Going to get right to this. And remember, for those of you especially that are new to the community, we've tended to do a town hall in the fall after the board meeting and a town hall in the spring. And I told you in the fall town hall that we would add a January town hall to really focus on updating you about capital projects. And we are going to do that, but as we typically do, you can see the agenda here, we're going to just let you know about some changes in faculty and staff positions. Some of those are position changes and some of them are new people, so we'll do those two things just so we can get acquainted with folks that are new to our community, and a couple of save the dates for what's happening this spring, and then we'll get to capital project updates. And what that will look like, I'm going to give you the briefest of just an overview of what's happening with all the major building projects, but this meeting was to be focused and will be focused on Dr. Ball helping us to understand some of our sustainability aims in the buildings that we're doing. And when we told you about the building plans, we threw out a lot of language where we said, we'll explain that later. Today is later, where we're going to let Dr. Ball begin to help us understand some of the things. And I'll just be honest, I'm learning all of this as we're going along, and I think we're admitting with our architectural firms and builders, we're all learning together, and how great, we're a college, so we're all learning together about this. So this, you might think of today's town hall as a bit of a classroom, right? Because we're going to learn something about why we're building some of our buildings the way that we are, while we're renovating the way we are. So, and then after that, we have some fun news about our anniversary celebrations that are happening in 2025. You'll hear more about that from those that are leading that effort at the very end. So we're going to get right to it and tell you about some position changes. So let me tell you about two, and then those in the leadership will mention their own areas and introduce you to people. But there are two of these that I want to mention to you. These are people who have been with us for some time, who are getting new titles based on their accomplishments and their portfolio, actually. So the first one, I just want to note that Michelle Cadigan has been with us, you're in your third year, as of, starting the fourth year right now, has done exceptional work as our Director of Athletics, and everyone will always call her the AD because that's what happens in that world. But with our board and frankly leadership here on campus, the question arose about the kind of work she does and the responsibilities she had. This was kind of one of those easy decisions that we are announcing as effective today that she is Vice President for Athletics. So congratulations to Michelle Cadigan. And then another change related to Lee Ellington, who came to us as to help with human resources, and thanks to her experience and everything, has a suite of responsibilities that far exceed what we hired her to do, and she's been doing those kind of tirelessly, and Sandra Quay said we probably should put the appropriate title on that, so we're announcing that she is Associate Vice President of, and you can see all the things that she does. And boy, am I glad that someone like Lee enjoys having a portfolio like this. So congratulations to Lee Ellington. And now I am getting out of the way, and the cast of characters who has announcements is going to come.
Good morning. I just have one from athletics, and that is Brock McMichael, who has been promoted to Director of Sports Performance. He's not here this morning because he's actually training our baseball team as we speak.
Good morning. We've had two position changes in Catawba Online and Graduate programs. Shakira Logan and Victoria Shapiro are now serving as our online and graduate enrollment counselors.
Hi, good morning. We've had two. One is a person who's moved to our office, and one is Mindy Miller is now our Associate Vice President of Development. And for those of you that know, Mindy has been here for almost 7 years, and she's done extraordinary work, so I'm really thrilled to give her that promotion. And then we're also very excited that Sharon Newsom has joined our office as our Development Support Coordinator. This is a full circle moment for Sharon because she started her career at Catawba 22 years ago in the development office, so we're very excited to have her, so we welcome her.
Okay, we have some promotions. Meredith Cole is the Director of Human Resources, Operation and Compliance. Rebecca Lahamadou is the Payroll and Benefit Administrator. And we promoted Daryl Lyles as Associate Director of Public Safety.
Okay, is this on? All right. So a very well-deserved promotion for Josh Reefy over here, who's been promoted to Assistant Director of Student Retention, Persistence, and Academic Success.
See, I'm the one who has the title that takes up the whole slide. All right, let's see here. I am excited to announce Eddie Suarez. He transferred over from CNV to serve as our executive assistant in the Office of Student Affairs, so we're excited to have him.
And we also have a few additional coaches that are joining our team. First is Susanna Andrade, who is actually beginning next week, but she will be our new head beach coach. We have Truth Freeland, who is now our Assistant Director of Sports Performance. I think there he is. Welcome, Truth. And also Gerard Williams, who's our new Assistant Track Coach, who's there in the back. Welcome.
So in the School of Education, we have an addition of an administrative assistant, Russell Fleming. Russell. He will also serve for administrative support for Dr. Bitzer in the Center for North Carolina Politics as well.
Good morning, everyone. We have a few additions to our department. Vicki Doyle has joined us as the Gift Grant Fund and Endowment Operations Specialist. She comes to us with years of experience in that area. Lamont McCam will be joining us next week. He will be starting as the Director of Student Accounts. And Lee Vang has joined us as an Accountant 1. She was a student worker in our department and a graduate of Catawba College.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome Dr. Ross Roberts as Associate Professor of Accounting to the Kettner School of Business. He joins us from the Phillips School of Business at High Point University, where he was a tenured Associate Professor and Chair of Finance and Accounting. So, welcome, Ross.
And we hired some new people in public safety. Cameron Hensley, Public Safety Officer. Trevor Meadows, Director of Public Safety. Jesse Mansner, Public Safety Officer. And Frank Torres, Public Safety Officer.
Good morning. We have two hires, both in replacement positions for exercise science. Dr. Andy Shim comes to us from St. Mary's in Nebraska. And Dr. Brittany Smith comes to us from Kent State of Ohio. Thank you.
All right, going into new hires. So in the student academic success area, we're really very happy to welcome two outstanding new staff members. One is Quishonda Bird, is our new academic and career advising specialist. And also, Sierra Short, new student success coach. So we're really happy to have them.
All right, so now new hires for the Office of Student Affairs. Jeremiah Kelly, serving as the Director of Campus Life. Cassandra Jenkins, serving as Associate Director of Housing and Residence Life. LaToya Price, serving as Coordinator of Campus Programming. Rachel Scott, Counselor. And Dallin Sobers, Area Housing Coordinator.
And I have just a couple of quick announcements for everybody to make sure you don't miss out on some important and fun things that are coming up this semester. We have another town hall scheduled the end of March after our next board meeting, so we'll share more details about some of the dates later. But we have a really wonderful event coming up on February 4th that I hope everyone will come to. It'll be in Keppel, an evening with Judy Woodruff. So I hope that you have seen this email, and if you have not, then talk to the Office of Development. They've got more information and details in taking RSVPs, so make sure that you do that too. Day of Character is coming up February 26th. More details on that to come soon. Again, Spring Town Hall, March 27th. And after that, we've got a slew of things running up to commencement. So don't miss out. And then we also have some fun events. We'll have our Kannapolis Cannonballers Night Out, and we'll have our final drought, which we'll have a date for shortly. It'll be in May. David.
Well, thanks, everyone, and welcome to those who are new, and congratulations to those who have moved into these other positions. And just a note again, for those of you that are newer, what happens in March, that's when we do an annual budget update, and we'll also be presenting our campus plan. Remember, we did a strategic plan, and we've been building a campus plan for facilities on the backside of that. We expect the board to vote on that in March. So we'll give you updates on both of those things and other board actions in the March meeting. We want to note, we love to celebrate the really good things that are happening. We often talk about the accomplishments of our students, but we also love to see what our faculty and staff accomplish. And we have a couple of these today we just thought we would highlight for you because they speak so well of the accomplishments of the really wonderful people who work at this college. And so just last week, I'm on the board of the United Way, and we had the annual meeting, and we're there, and stakeholders are there, and they give a set of awards at that meeting, and one of them is designed each year to recognize people who kind of quietly and humbly just do the good work of supporting all the good work of United Way. And they chose a really well-deserved recognition for years of service to this community, not just to this college, but to this community. And so last week they awarded what's called the Humble Hero Award by Rowan County United Way to Dr. Jared Tice. We just want to recognize him. And then I've asked Vice President Cadigan to tell us about this next one.
Last week at the NCAA convention, we had one of our own, our faculty member, Dr. Suzanne Bowser, was recognized as the Division II Faculty Mentor Award. There are over 300 Division II institutions. Our SAC initiated that with the leadership of cross-country track and field, the SAC president, Sydney Cockerham, who wrote a beautiful letter on behalf of Dr. Bowser, and she was selected by the National SAC, Student Advisory Committee, as the award recipient. So she was able to give some remarks. It was a really special evening, and as I said there that night, we are super proud and grateful and blessed to have Dr. Bowser on our campus, not only for all of our students, but particularly for our student athletes.
I'm struck that both of these folks who represent us so well are exemplars of the truth that good goes far. So thank you to both of you, and congratulations. Now let's talk about campus projects. So let me just set the stage for Dr. Ball and give you a couple of updates on what's happening. But we let you know in the fall, and you'd seen this developing over months, that we're commencing some $70 million of campus improvements. That includes renovations and new build. It is admittedly focused, as our strategic plan indicated we would, on taking care of our students. And so student experience space in what's called the Smokestack Project, the renovation of two of our major historic halls, Standback Hall and Salisbury Rowan, the addition of a new residence hall to be named later. We'd call it New Residence Hall for now. And then a phase 2 of Newman Park. And you just see some sample images, the smokestack, and let me just give you sort of a project by project, very quick update, things you should know about. Smokestack project, we're delayed on starting building because of a design issue related to the smokestack itself and some concerns by engineers about whether we should still build around it or build next to it. And programming will remain the same, but we're like within days of deciding which version of that we're going to do so we can move on to actually building the thing. So not a change in programming, but we might instead build around that thing and have a really nice courtyard that connects the Cannon building to that. And so we'll see. We had originally been told the stack might have to come down, and we said, yeah, we don't want that to happen. It's iconic, and so we were keeping it. It's just a question of what's the wisest way to proceed with that. So that's smokestack. The new hall we're just showing you, that's the grand new hall. We are in the value engineering phase of that. For those of you that know how that works, we're at about 50% of design for that. Plan on getting that finished and get all our approvals from the city and commencing with construction later this spring once we have commencement. The 2 residence halls, we told you we were going to try to renovate them at the same time. We think that's impossible. In order to take care of student housing, especially for first-year students, we're going to do one year and one after that. Stand back, I want you to hear this, because when you see it happen, you'll wonder what's happening. That is an original building in the middle that has 2 wings that were added to it. As we looked at this and all of the desires we have for the student experience and our sustainability goals, we figured out it's cheaper to take the 2 wings down and rebuild them. And it's just because of the way they were built, and there's really no envelope there, and so they're not sustainable at all. They're not very comfortable. And rather than just renovating a building that needs so much work, they decided probably best, quicker and cheaper, take it down and rebuild them. So we made the decision to do that, and the funders of that are fine with it because they want what's best for our students. But I didn't want you to drive by and see a part of a building coming down and thinking, what in the world is that? Well, that's what it is. So the historic old building remains, and we'll just put the additions back on, newer and better this time. So that's how that is all proceeding. I will be managing this by committee.
Living Building Challenge when you leave here to learn more about this. But this particular approach to sustainability is a very deep and wide perspective on how a building can really help the occupants connect to nature, can really help the occupants and know that they are working and or living in a healthy space, and give the opportunity for the occupants to learn while doing this. And so that living laboratory component is going to be highlighted in the smokestack project. The smokestack will be one of our new living rooms for students on campus. They're going to be hopefully spending a lot of time there, and we want them to be able to, not just through osmosis, but in really meaningful ways, understand their relationship with the built environment, and how when they leave Catawba College, how they can take that and potentially influence other built environment projects that they might be a part of. And so if you look at the Living Building Challenge kind of scope of work here, it focuses on place and water and energy, health and happiness, materials, equity, and beauty, which is really interesting. And they're all equally important. They don't necessarily value one over the other. And what is, I think, really exciting for us at Catawba College is that we'll be the first institution of higher ed in the state to pursue a Living Building Challenge project. So we're leaders in that regard. In higher ed, we'll be, I think, the second-ish next to the first was Georgia Tech with their Candida building. If any of you are familiar with that or want to learn more, certainly encourage you to look it up. It's a phenomenal project. We're taking a little different approach. We integrated programming in a way that was, I think, very collaborative, and we spent a lot of time working with the campus community to really listen to what they wanted to happen in this building. Another neat, part of this project is that we're literally turning an old coal plant into a regenerative building. And we stopped burning coal in that building in the early 1990s, and now we're turning it into one of the most sustainable buildings ever built in the state of North Carolina. So we have a lot to be proud of. A little bit of a snafu with the smokestack itself. It is safe. The foremost experts on chimneys in the country and internationally came and inspected it, and there might be some repairs, but we're still determining whether or not the local building officials will allow us to build around it. So anyway, we look forward to this project really being a catalyst as well for others like it in the Southeast or the nation. So as we demonstrate leadership here at Catawba, it's an opportunity for people to come here and walk through the building, touch it, feel it, experience it, and then they can talk to our team to learn about how we did it. How do we finance it? How do we convince leadership that this was a good idea? How did we, what was our collaborative approach that we took to help program the building so we determine what goes inside of the building? So, there are a lot of moving parts when you build a building, and to build a deeply sustainable building is even more complicated. We do know that we will get a lot of attention with this building, which will be great. It'll be great for recruitment. It'll be great for hopefully retention, but it'll also be great for others that are interested in learning through our example. Let us, fail a little bit, and we can share, the things that didn't work as well as the things that did work. And I know in sustainable building, those are the questions we tend to ask first: is what on earth would you not do again? And so we have that relationship with Georgia Tech, so we've been able to ask those questions to our friends down there. But we're the first in North Carolina to do this. There are many other schools that are attempting. Appalachian State has been designing a project, and so we won't be the last, but we'll certainly be the first. So if you have any other questions, love talking about this. Come and find me. I'd love to talk to you more about it, maybe get into the weeds a little more and show you some of the plans. We felt like the smokestack was the ideal project for this particular certification. And because of it, there's an exterior component, a landscaping component that really requires us to think deeply about how do we deal with the water, what kind of plants do we plant around the building, how do we deal with accessibility, make sure people can enter and leave the building safely. And we knew that this building is going to have a lot of traffic. It's going to have the opportunity for us to use it on game days and for events, and it's going to be a very dynamic space, very different from a residence hall. Again, this is going to be one of our new living rooms on campus, and it's something we wanted to be, not just beautiful, but also have that impact on our region. And so we do intend to have various different ways for the occupants to learn about the place that they're in through QR codes and monitors, and different type of the furnishings will have the opportunity for people to learn about why we selected what we selected. President Nelson mentioned the value engineering phase that we're in. We're doing that with a lot of these projects. It's really challenging to say, okay, you have this much money, and then immediately go over budget, and we have to decide, okay, what are we going to land on in the end? And that's a very, very informative part of the process that we'll be able to share with others that are interested in maybe following our leadership with a project like this. Another unique thing about this project is it's an addition and a renovation. So we're renovating the old core of the smokestack that used to house a very large boiler where we burn coal and boiled water and heat our buildings, and now it's going to be turned into this, multi-level, student center extension, if you will. And then we have the addition, and the addition really gives us additional square footage for our programming needs that the college has identified. But it is a very recognized international program, and it comes with a lot of credibility. So if we're able to finalize the certification, when we finalize the certification, like I said before, we're going to get a lot of attention from this. Just so you know how it works, it's a performance-based certification. So it's not just a checklist where you say, yeah, I did this and I did that. There's a very rigorous performance evaluation phase that happens the year after the building is commissioned. We get your certificate of occupancy, and we get the whole year of demonstrating that it is performing like we designed it. And then we get our final certification, and we'll have a big party and blast it all over the place, because we're going to be really proud when we do that. When you get into the I know you all will be rushing out of here to look it up. And when you do, you'll see that there are a lot of options with the Living Building Challenge, where you can do this much or you can do this much, and we're doing kind of this much. We're pursuing what's called pedal certification. We're pursuing the energy pedal, where we're really focusing on it being an energy positive building, where we're going to generate more electricity than it uses. And but we're still focusing on these core aspects of what makes a living building a living building. So again, it's really thinking about, will the occupants have ensure that they have great environmental quality? Will it ensure they have great indoor air quality? And is it going to be a beautiful place to be in? And I think that we're our partners with Little Architecture on this program, this project. I think that I know they're extremely excited about it. They're very creative. They have a lot of great ideas, and we can't wait for all of us to do this over there potentially one day. Well, we don't have we will not have a space this size, but we'll have a big party over there. With the new residence hall, we've selected a different certification because it's a brand new building, and it's a residence hall that is going to house students that traditionally use a lot of energy. Students these days, they bring things to their buildings, and they like to plug in all their equipment and their game stations and so we know inherently that residential buildings are energy hogs. And when we decided that we want to build a new residence hall, we wanted to build a building that has a more institutional, not just look and feel, but it behaves like an institutional building, meaning that it's going to be here for a really long time. And if it's going to be here for a really long time, we want to make sure that it's resilient and that it's also going to save us a lot of energy over time. And so with this project, we've chosen a certification that's called Passive House. And the Passive House Institute, or PHIUS is what it's called, the Passive House Institute US, is the organizing entity that oversees the certification and all the training regarding Passive House. People ask me, like, what's your elevator pitch of what Passive House is? And this started back in Germany and the U.S. in the early 1970s. The first Passive House buildings were built in Europe. And people give Germany credit, but it was also happening in the U.S. at the same time. But if you can imagine building a house like a Yeti cooler, that's kind of what this is like, but we've gotten a lot more sophisticated with our energy modeling and our ventilation strategies around Passive House. But the idea is that you make a super insulated, airtight building so that the heat of the occupants and all like the refrigerators and all the things that generate heat are part of the heating loads, and that's all modeled. instead of as a safe and comfortable building to exist in. It's all electric, by the way, so we're not going to have any natural gas and carbon monoxide, concerns with this project, nor with Standback Hall or Salisbury Rowan or the smokestack. All are going to be all electric, and they're all in sync with our campus decarbonization goals. But Passive House with new construction is an ideal opportunity for us to design a building one time the right way, that it's going to be resilient and energy efficient, ensuring indoor air quality over a long period of time. And it's not like the apartments we're seeing, that get, literally look like they pop up like mushrooms overnight. This is going to be a very durable, long-lasting building that we're going to be very proud of. And a lot of college campuses, they'll build institutional buildings that become a liability over time with operation, maintenance, and energy costs. And so we're really because of our resources, we have the opportunity to be thinking long-term with this. And so we're taking this long-term life cycle analysis approach with all of these projects, but with a new building like this is a great opportunity. So Passive House US, we will also be the first school in the state, first school, I think, of any type, yes, pre-K through higher ed in the state to build a Passive House building. So again, adding to our living laboratory, adding to our another building on campus. And when people come and visit us on campus, they can learn about Passive House. They can learn about living building, and we can explain to them why we decided to select these different certifications, and kind of why now we decided to do that. And if you look at, they really focus on comfort, on durability, on decarbonization, climate-centered design. And the verification is very stringent. It's also performance-based. So when we get our certificate of occupancy, we will not be handed, here you go, congratulations, here's your Passive House. We're going to have to verify over a period of time that, yes, this performs, and it is a year because you have to go through all seasons, and cooling and heating season, and those swing seasons in the spring and the fall. And we'll be able to hopefully, demonstrate, yes, it behaved like, it was designed, and then we'll get our certification. And then we'll have another party, because I doubt they'll happen in the same day. And we love to celebrate around here. So with so these are the same. This is Standback. This is not Salisbury Rowan. We're further down the road with our designs for Standback Hall because we're remodeling that one first, and then we'll be doing work on the design, on the schematic designs, and then the design drawings on Salisbury Rowan in the coming months. But with Standback Hall, because it is a major renovation. It's a partial rebuild, like President Nelson explained, but we decided to select yet another certification that is a little less expensive, and but it also ensures that we're providing really good indoor air quality, and that's focused on comfort and also accessibility. And that was another reason we decided to demolish the wings, is because when we rebuild, when we're finished with the Standback remodel, it's going to be more accessible than it is today. So that also played into that decision. And so building standard is very common with remodels, so we felt like it was really appropriate. It is a little more well-known, and it's in many projects it's really works extremely well in tandem with LEED certification. We're setting energy targets with this building, but this particular certification is focused on building occupant wellness. And we really wanted, with a legacy building like Standback Hall, we wanted to ensure that this building is a safe building to be in, it's a comfortable building to be in, and that it's really thinking about our air and our water, and yeah, I'm not sure how much we're going to promote nourishment, but we're going to, we'll have to maybe collaborate on that. But light and movement, thermal comfort, sound materials, mind and community are all are elevated as the criteria to design for. And we have, I think, that mindset here at Catawba where we think about these things, but these certifications actually force your hand on it. And if you've been involved with any built environment projects, especially LEED, there was an industry term that emerged in the 90s that, yeah, we built it to LEED standards, but we didn't certify. And then people started saying, oh, we're going to build it LEED light. And that is like, a totally fabricated way of speaking about LEED. LEED light doesn't exist. It's people behind the scenes making decisions to save money. And when you certify, you can actually hang your hat on it, and you can say, yes, we really did this. And these certifications were developed over decades with hundreds, if not thousands, of really smart people thinking really deeply about what is best practice in these areas. And so there's a lot of value in certification, even though it means that it does cost a little more. And sometimes the cost is more on the verification and hiring the consultants to make sure that you come in and you actually did what you said you did. And then we can be authentic with our claims. And then when our friends and colleagues come to learn from us, we'll be able to have real data to share with them. All of this is very data driven. And so these buildings are going to produce a tremendous amount of data, which I think is perfect timing for our data literacy QEP. We'll be able to weave that into our living laboratory, and I think it's going to be, fulfilling and meaningful for faculty and students that want to engage with these projects and then with these buildings over time. We'll be able to monitor these buildings over time, and we'll be able to, learn from them and all learn together about, what should buildings really be like, and, because we've all been in, y'all know that, how much time we spend in our buildings? Like what percent of our time we spend in our buildings? It's above 90%. I've heard 97% of our time we spend inside. And sick building syndrome is a real thing. And so these buildings are going to ensure that we have the best experience we can in our buildings, right? And then with living building, they really value, they really promote biophilic design, which is kind of blurring the lines, like bringing the inside out and bringing the outside in, blurring the lines between the natural world and the built environment. And you'll see aspects of that in the smokestack. Harder to do with with the residence halls, but the residence halls will certainly have really good lighting, and especially the new residence halls are going to be designed to maximize daylighting in that building, which is something that we really look forward to, hearing what the student experience is going to be like. So the last thing is, we've had this idea for a long time to expand our geothermal energy systems on campus. As many of you that were here last spring, our latest system was the geothermal in front of the library, and that system was also designed to eventually connect to the chapel. And then we're also looking at providing geothermal energy for the new residence hall and the smokestack as well, and potentially other buildings on campus as we look to integrate deferred maintenance with our decarbonization goals on campus. And so if you see this map, 1A is Frockfield, and one idea that we're exploring is to locate many more wells there than we did in the library project, and then pump the chilled water, water below the frost line is like 6 degrees year round. And so that's why that energy is really valuable if you can access it. And so that chilled water would be pumped to these different projects, and then potentially a network of buildings all across campus. We have 2 systems that are over 20 years old that already provide energy for SR, Abernathy Village, a few other buildings on the south side of campus, and then also on the north side of campus, Standback Hall and BZ and some others. And so those systems are coming to the end of life because it eventually happens. And so we're looking at potentially redesigning some of those. So this is a big, expensive, complicated project that is also tackling deferred maintenance at the same time. But I wanted you to see this, to see how we're thinking about sustainability and decarbonization in the context of these new capital projects. All right. And all the homework's on Blackboard.
We'll take one quick question. Yeah, so we didn't. So Little Architecture did our campus plan, are doing the renovations, and then we had a design build competition during the summer for the new residence hall, and then there's another group, by the way, for Newman Park. But for the new res hall, we had this design build competition and had 5 teams of, that's where architects pair up with builders. And so Page and Balfour Beatty are the team that is doing the new residence hall. And they've been on campus, for example, they've done charrettes with students and everything, but you will, I think it will be by April 1st. Thank you for leading into this prompt, that there will be on our website a page dedicated to these projects where you can get on, you can get updates about progress, but you'll be able to click on and see that kind of information and some of the highlights of what the building is programmed for and everything. And Jared had the very good idea that we're also going to include the last 5 or so years, 6 years of projects because so many have happened. So somebody looking at the college will be able to see what's been improved and what's being improved, as well as having a master plan. But we'll put all those kinds of details up there for you. And so let me make a couple of comments before we have our closing, because I know we've got to wrap up here. Over the holidays, I got a text from one of our board members concerned about an Instagram post that one of their family members saw. So this is what Jody and others and I get to do during the holidays, is handle these kinds of texts. And we looked at it, and what it was 10 worst residence halls or living environments in U.S. colleges, and we were listed. And we quickly realized somebody just made a list, but we started looking at how did they get to this, and what we think happened. You know, we're named as one of the best colleges in the Princeton Review. I think this year it's 388. We're one of the 388 best, which is a really nice distinction for us. And in it, our students give feedback, and our students give wonderful feedback. That's why we're on the list. They like us, and they like their college. But in it, there's a list of schools in that group where the living environment is nothing fancy. We're on that list, and I think it's apt to say our living environments are nothing fancy. That may be a charitable way of talking about some of the living environment, and you hear this from students. We're laughing because we know students experience this. So, you know, there's that piece of it, and then we want our students they come here to live. We believe in residential education, and we want them to be in safe environments that contribute to their well-being and that are comfortable to live in. And these improvements are directed toward that so that when they show up in the classroom, or they're out there competing, or they're in the performance hall, they're not busy worrying about whether the heat's going to be right, or whether the sink is working, or whether the closet door that fell off the hinges has been repaired. They're going to be thinking about the work you're asking them to do, and they're going to be thinking about the relationships they're developing. And so we're trying to form their lives here and form them to be people of a certain kind. And in a way, these buildings are just that. We're creating the conditions in which that will happen. That's why we're looking at the natural environment and the built environment. And Beth, we chose these architects especially because they got that sense of things for us. That when they came to campus, we felt like, yeah, something resonates with us in the room. And we spent a lot of time with them, but they're they're doing something that will matter on this campus for years. So just so you know, a question was asked by the team we chose to build that beautiful building that you see rendered. And it was, what's the lifespan of the building you want us to build? Because right now, colleges and universities tend to build 20-year buildings because it's cheaper. And then some, when I was in the UNC system, we were building 50-year buildings. And our answer was 100 years. So we're going to spend the money now and create the environment. It will last for a longer period of time. I have to say our board is completely in agreement with that kind of standard for us, and I'm glad to say that because I think it's the right thing to do for our students and for other buildings we'll renovate that some of us occupy. So just wanted to make a note about that and see how important creating this kind of living and learning environment for our students contributes to the education that our students receive and their formation as people. And then there's this effect I think we'll see, that we'll see people go into these fields where they'll carry this knowledge with them. By the way, they'll have to be trained to live in the passive house in the new hall. They'll have to learn how to live in these environments, and I think we're going to see some fun competitions by floors about how they use energy and all that. We have joked we want to make sure it's done so they still take showers and all of that, but this is not just to have buildings, it's to really create the environments for our students to be really, really successful. So that's what's behind all of this. Now, I know we have to move on because some of you have classes to get to, but we have some important celebrations happening in 2025, and we have a team of people who've put together some really nice ways of marking that. So I'm going to ask the two of you to come up and tell us about that, and then we'll depart from here.
Hello, I'm Mary Catherine,
Lashika Walker.
and we have some exciting things happening in 2025. Thank you. We have the 60th year since Catawba College was integrated and our 100th year anniversary of Catawba College being in Salisbury, Rowan County. We have really worked with the city on bringing both communities together, so that's our main focus this year, is to bring Salisbury and Catawba College as one. We also plan to enhance our annual events that we have yearly with some special guests, some exciting features to these events. And you see a list here. This weekend we have First Pitch. We've got a lot of exciting things going on there with a panel discussion from some great athletes that attended Catawba College. And then next up would be our annual Brady Author Symposium as well. I'm going to turn it over to Lashika. She can talk to you a little bit about the 60th. But if you haven't picked up the latest edition of Salisbury Magazine, there is an article in there about the 100 years of Salisbury. So check that out.
Just want to briefly give you some information or a history about how we arrived at this moment for the 60th commemorative celebration. In 1965, there were 3 African-American gentlemen who came to Catawba College by way of Coach Sam Moyer. Those 3 gentlemen were Ike Hill, Dwight Durante, and Lawrence Bullock. So this year, 2025, we will honor them, celebrate them, pay homage to them for their bravery, which I think is long overdue. So in the month of March, we have several events that will take place. They're here, March 20th, we will have a networking social with our students and our alums in conjunction with the panel discussion with some of those gentlemen that were here. And they were here in 65, followed with some other of their classmates that came right after them. Saturday, we will have a gala, which will feature one of our alums, Dennis Reed, and his group Sainted. If you're not familiar, they were one of the finalists on America's Got Talent. And the following Sunday, we will wrap up everything on March 30th with a joint concert with Livingstone College and Catawba College Gospel Choirs. So again, we have a lot going on in March. Everyone is welcome. If you are interested in volunteering, helping out, attending, just let us know in the development office. And the registration links and things will be live within a few weeks. That's all. Thank you.
Grab a little cookie on your way out. We've got a little treat for everybody.
Yeah, I want to mention they have treats as you leave. So let me say something about, we're doing the 100th anniversary and the year after the 175th, whatever that thing is called, for the history of the college, both important. I'm so glad that we are recognizing the 60th. You know, these celebrations are time of yourselves, and part of this is just acknowledging the truth about the history of this college. I'll remind you that on not one but two occasions, this college was offered an endowment in the 19th century if it would integrate. It was one of the first coeducational institutions in the South, so they got that right, but they turned down the opportunity for those endowments to enroll everyone at the college, and it was not until 1965. And having met these three men and heard their stories, we need to hear their stories and celebrate them and those who came after them. Those stories aren't easy to hear sometimes, but we're going to do that because that's a good thing to do, to sit with that, to listen to that, to take account of that, and think of who we are now and where we'll go in the future. So thank you all. This is a lot of work that this team is doing, and thank you for all the work to help us to recognize and celebrate the past of this institution. I know we'll have to go. Lee and I will hang out. If you have any questions about any of the information, if it's about sustainability, I'll pass you to Lee. I forgot something that is significant. We, as a matter of all of this building and master planning, I noted to you in the fall that we had applied with the city, with the VA hospital, Novan Hospital, and Livingstone College. All of us banded together to get to apply for a federal grant to decide what's to be done with Innis Street. It runs through our campus, it has safety issues, and it has aesthetic issues, if you haven't noticed. And we really need it to be safer, more walkable, bikeable, livable, and for the entrance into our beautiful campus to be more beautiful. That will benefit us, it will benefit all our neighbors, certainly those institutions and every business on this street. And a study was done back in the 90s. Nothing was done with it. Mayor Alexander, whose funeral we just celebrated, was determined that we would study this for 2025 and then do something about it. And I'm sad she won't be here to see that, but we got the grant. So we received news of that we got the grant. It's very good news. It is a planning grant, but we're already swinging into motion because the leaders of the institutions I just mentioned, we all believe there are things to be done already. And so Jared Tice and Mary Catherine are helping me with this. We're working with the partner institutions. I just want you to know when you worry about people crossing the street and all that sort of stuff, we know. And Mayor Alexander's point was, as construction gets underway, we need to start to solve some of those problems now. So we are on that, and you'll hear more about it. But I wanted you to know the good news that we did, in fact, get the grant that we had applied for. So thank you again. I know we've kept you a little long. The beautiful cookies are waiting for you.